Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream from March 17th. We are back with Tetra Bio-Pharma, TBP, Dr. Guy Chamberlain. Guy, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me back, Jack. It's a pleasure.
Guy, so you got some very exciting news this week. I think there was a little bit of a reaction in the stock, but I don't think the market has really absorbed kind of like what the impact of this is going to be. So I kind of want to dive right into this. Let's talk about this news that you announced about the Health Canada process that you're getting into right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for any biotech that's a non-revenue biotech, getting closer to becoming a revenue company is a major, major milestone for all shareholders. It's going to, it's the first step, in changing our valuation. If you look at the difference in our valuation versus GW Pharma, you got at least 100-fold difference. And that is mainly due to having a commercialized product approved by the regulator. So their first approval was in 2010 with the UK government. And so we're facing our first approval here in Canada. Okay. People don't necessarily, go ahead.
And so we're talking, I forgot to mention, we're talking about Roduvo. You're getting, so Roduvo now is in the Health Canada, sort of process pipeline.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's what the challenge, when we submit a new drug application for a new drug here, it's in Canada, it's a new drug. The regulator obviously goes through it. And if your file is incomplete in any aspect, you just get it rejected at this stage. So for us, a major step has been crossed in that the regulator obviously finished their homework, sent us back, and we have basically everything we need to respond and provide the answers and move to second base, basically the next phase of the evaluation. And now the clock starts and the government starts reviewing the file, asking questions, and we respond as fast as we can and to keep the ball rolling. But this is a very important step.
Okay, so what markets does will Roduvo be addressing when it's approved?
Well, Roduvo is going to be approved for the same indications as Marinol and Dronabinol are approved in the USA, which is for basically CINV, the chemo-induced nausea and vomiting, which is an $80 million market potential here in Canada, and also for some loss of appetite in HIV/AIDS patients. So that's major. We know there's also a lot of off-label use by pain patients, but think about it. Here in Canada, the Supreme Court had told the government that patients had the right to access to THC as a medication. The government, through its medical cannabis program, created kind of a taxation around getting access to medical cannabis, and you can't get access to it through your physician. The majority of physicians won't prescribe it. You can't get it from your pharmacist. So in a sense, the government's plan is kind of deficient from that point of view. The best path for patients is finally getting THC approved as a prescription drug, where it will get reimbursed by the governments and your physician will be able to prescribe it, and you will get it dispensed by your pharmacist, who will also be able to give you guidance on any potential drug interactions with your other medications, which right now you cannot get here in Canada. So, patients have been at loss still.
So this is going to be, when this is approved, this would be the first THC-based drug in Canada.
Well, to be technically correct, 15 years ago, it was withdrawn from the Canadian market. The first approvals of THC drugs were in 1985. The manufacturers had removed them from the market because they were not stable, the THC. There's a lot of manufacturing issues. So when you want to resubmit a THC drug here in Canada, after 10 years of being removed from the market, the clock goes back to zero and you're now back to a new drug status, which for a biotech like us, that was perfect. So obviously it's not a generic status, it's a new drug, and it becomes a stepping stone. Look at Tetra's pipeline. We have what we call our PP02, which is a patented sublingual sustained release of THC. That's next. We're going to go after opioid reducing claims. We have our COMS, which also has a THC in it. So you can see the strategic move of how Tetra is going to be able to use this first in and strategically open the path to make it easier for its next drugs. But from a shareholder point of view, obviously, the most important is the dramatic change in value from being a revenue generating to become finally a revenue generating company.
Okay. And okay, so what the so the stat so if you can just walk us through kind of the process for the Health Canada approval, in case I don't know, the US audience, other people may not be familiar. So
Sure.
what is it kind of what's kind of what's the status of Roduvo right now in that process, and when, I guess the real question is, when do you expect it to get approval?
Sure. A typical new drug has kind of a first stage of evaluation. The first thing both FDA and Health Canada are going to look at is your manufacturing file. So all the validations, your stability program on the THC. Basically, can you get this drug to patients, safely from a quality point of view? It doesn't degrade in the person's house, so on and so forth. They're going to look at all that science. If that science is reasonable, then the medical and the toxicologists begin the review of the drug. And throughout that process, you're getting questions. At one point in that process, the inspectorate is triggered. So then the regulator has to come and visit and inspect Tetra to be sure we're compliant with the GMPs. If we're not compliant, then game over. So obviously, all those steps are now ongoing with a company like Tetra. Keep one thing in mind. If I told you that this drug had been previously approved and on the market, and you know very well the body of evidence for THC in terms of clinical trials. So Tetra is not concerned of addressing, say, the clinical aspects in a drug review of a new drug with everything that's out there in every study, say, Tetra has even done itself. The biggest key was really securing the manufacturing, because that was the reason it was previously removed. So Tetra had announced that it partnered with a U.S. pharmaceutical company that obviously makes this and has been making it for decades in the United States under the FDA's approval. So we're very confident that we will be able to get this through.
Okay, and so essentially, so the regulatory pathway that you have for a lot of your drugs is much faster than traditional biotech approvals, correct?
No, it's the same thing.
Same thing. Okay,
it's very long. It can be over. It can get close to a year sometimes. It's very long, the review process for a new drug.
Okay, but in terms of but Roduvo has, I guess, is it an alternative regulatory path, or like what makes?
No, it's kind of an unconventional one. So Health Canada basically agreed with kind of some of our regulatory arguments that a lot of the body of evidence from the clinical aspect has been recognized by them already, and obviously we have let's say a reduced type file on the clinical front to provide the regulator, which is completely normal, because they obviously had reviewed it before and approved it. And in any case, our medical cannabis market is based on it. It's based entirely on the Marinol file.
Okay, and so when do you expect to again get final approval and to start generating revenues? That's kind of the main.
Yeah, that is the key. Theoretically, if the clock doesn't get stopped, because if you take too much time in answering a question from a regulator, they stop the clock. So they'll claim, for example, it's a 180-day process type of thing, but the 180 days can actually stretch out if they have to stop the clock. They always look good in terms of their performance publicly, but you have to be sure you meet those deadlines. That's a game, and that's where a company like Tetra is in a very good position. In our first interview, I told you kind of about our employees. We don't have people who are learning how to do this for the first time. All of our employees come from other pharmas. So we've been doing DINs our whole careers. So everybody is used to this process. I call it a ping pong match, where they throw you a question. You got like less than 24 hours to send the answer, and you got to be ready. So we're structured for that. We've done that before. It's not our first DIN. Shareholders should remember we had applied for some before. So we're able to get products through this process. And, just look at our record. Our record of delivering on clinical trials with both Health Canada and FDA should show people that, we've been achieving these. And we already had our DEL, our first drug establishment license, what Canada basically calls its GMP drug approval. We had our first one was granted to us, our license, in 2018. So we're in a very good position to deliver on this drug.
Okay, and when do you expect it to be on the market and generating revenues?
If the timeline is correct, for sure by the
best case, like let's say best case situation.
Best case by Q4 we're selling.
Okay, so let's say November, December, or it might take into this time next year. So, but it's essentially it's near term. So it's not.
It's near term, yes. I mean, for sure. I mean, theoretically, October is possible. So that's why I say Q4, and Q4 is definitely safe, and that's the prediction. And keep in mind, like I said, this drug is not really totally new. It's on the market in the States. So our partner does sell it in the United States. So their file must be compliant with the FDA if they're still selling it. So you can just kind of read between the lines that most of this data has been reviewed by the FDA. So Health Canada is now just going to review this data and confirm that it meets the drug standards.
Okay. And so in terms of, can you talk about some of the off-label uses of the drug potentially, and how with the market opportunity there?
Yeah. So if you look at the market potential, and basically if you look at completely what we call the off-label sales right now of Marinol and Dronabinol, over 95% of the prescriptions of a product like even Nabalon is off-label, being used for pain management. The on-label is actually the CINV. So if you're looking at the potential of a drug like this, it'd be silly for a company like Tetra not to want to really invest into a clinical trial to really study and show the potentials of a drug like this in opioid sparing. Obviously, you see our Reborn trials ongoing. We have the Plenitude ongoing, and we've been developing what we call the PP02, the sublingual version of THC, which is a fully patented, protected new drug. And we've always told shareholders that's the next step. So once I have my Roduvo approved, then you'll see the Roduvo Adversa appear. And that one, yes, we might go after the same claims to get it to the market faster, but obviously we'll be working very, very hard to go and get those opioid-sparing claims, mainly because pain physicians need to see this proven in a trial so we can expand basically the claims and the prescriptions of these drugs. And yes, THC is going to be very safe in the opioid sparing. It's, everybody's concerned about the risk of respiratory depression. Well, we don't have that with THC. And we have, whether we like it or not, the first THC drug was approved in the United States in 1985. So physicians have a very good experience in prescribing Dronabinol and Marinol safely to patients, and even Nabalon, which is a derivative. So it's not like physicians can't use this very effectively to manage pain control and, basically go after the fight against opioid sparing.
Okay. So basically, Roduvo could be, used as an alternative to opioids.
Correct.
And that could become like the major use of it.
Correct. So as a company, obviously that's been our positioning, is developing cannabinoid-based drugs for fighting basically the overuse of opioids and having an alternative. And we need one very desperately.
Especially right now, because again, I think with the pandemic, everything that's happening, there's a tremendous use of or abuse of it's a serious problem. So this could be very compelling. Okay, but most importantly, you also have so Roduvo is just really going to be the first drug on the market. Guy, can you talk about you talked about it last time, but you have. I mean, this is not where the story ends. I mean, you have within the next 12 months, 2022, you're expecting two more drugs to be on the market. Can you talk about those?
Correctly. If we stay within our, say, pain management type line and CINV type line, Tetra since 2016 has been working on quick sleeve. Everything we've been, focusing on in our pain approach is the use and development, say, of THC drugs. So obviously having this drug come in, it just helps us leverage even the next drug. So our quick sleeve, the Reborn trial, which is going to start this year, it's going to be a very critical trial, even again, to scientifically prove to people that we can beat morphine in patients. So you can imagine with Roduvo on the market, showing that Reborn really works, people are going to start to see how much effort and demonstration that we do to the medical community, how THC can become a very important tool in the battle against opioid overuse.
Okay, let's jump to let's jump into some audience questions. Let's see here. I think I kind of touched on this. Do your trials are not as costly as a typical biotech drug trial?
That's a good question. The Reborn trial doesn't, because it's basically a very fast trial. And it's also, you have to look at the study design. So if you look at what we call a crossover design, every patient becomes kind of the comparator. And that allows you to really get, how could I say, a cleaner, in a sense, measure of the variability, because the strength or the power of a trial is based on the number of patients. So when I have a small number of patients, I have how can I say, a challenge of separating the two groups and showing that my drug is really better than placebo because I have small groups. So sometimes that requires a very huge number of patients so that you can actually see the difference. And that obviously drives the price up. In the case of Reborn, the price is really low because I have crossover, so every patient gets the morphine and every patient gets the quick sleeves. So I demonstrate within patient the actual benefit, and that keeps my costs down. Plus, the endpoint is very small. It's time to relief, which is 30 minutes. I do that over 4 weeks. Take the average. That becomes my answer. It's not a 12-week to 6-month type of pain trial that sometimes goes on. Some of the most costly trials are those in arthritis, where they use like the WOMAC scales and things like that, and they look for really changes in functionality and mobility of the patients.
Okay. So Guy, so it's pretty interesting. I mean, you're getting again close to that inflection point where you start generating revenues. This is probably, I don't know, 8, 9, 12 months away, but we're getting very close. What is the marketing plan? Are you going to have a partner for Roduvo, or how are you going? And also, what about other markets outside of Canada that you could
Sure.
sell?
Yeah, so as a small biotech company, we're obviously using a classical model of a small company. So it's basically contract organizations that specialize in the sale, say, of prescription drugs to physicians in the pain network and CINV network. So these are kind of the organizations that we'll be using to sell our drug for us, because we're not going to go out and hire, sales reps and things like that. So that's really, kind of key for us as a company. And you've seen with Dan-Can, the first appetite in getting our drug. So that, this along with the Dan-Can news release is going to generate more appetite for people wanting to work with us and getting access to our drugs and getting them approved in their countries.
Okay, so yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, so the valuation. I mean, the valuation of the company is actually very, very cheap compared to, some of the peers, typical companies in the space, especially when you have that near term. You have that near term revenue potential. It's this is no longer one of these things that's 10 years out. It's near term.
Yes, if you look at GW's just before they got their first drug approval, it was much higher than we are right now.
What was the valuation before the first drug approval?
If you go back to 2010, I believe they were still trading over $5 back then. So it was much higher than ours.
Okay, it was like dollar-wise, was it like 500?
Definitely in the dollars. Oh yeah,
500 million plus, somewhere in that range.
I'm pretty sure. Yes.
Okay. Yes, I mean it's interesting. So we get a couple questions here, kind of relating to that, because I think most investors think that really this is a stock that really should be a Nasdaq stock. That's kind of where the best healthcare valuations are.
Absolutely.
Do you have any plans? I guess a question from Neen, I believe is the name. Would you do a reverse split at some point?
Oh, not at all right now. I mean, right now we're focusing on creating and building our value. That's our key priority. Yes, we have the NASDAQ as one of our goals, but our first thing is to really drive, the value up. There's no point of, doing a reverse split at this point. It's, just going to hurt the confidence with the shareholders, which you don't want to do. We want to build on the shareholders' confidence. Show them we're delivering what we promised. We promised them Roduvo. We promised them Reborn. We promised them ARDS. We'll deliver on that.
Okay. So Drake wants you to remind investors of the ARDS therapeutic trial that is about to start.
Yeah, I mean, basically we're in, like I said, the regulatory phase in our last meeting we had. And as soon as we hear back from the regulators, we'll be updating for sure the market and providing them with basically a more detailed timeline of the ARDS drug for sure. Okay,
excellent. Okay, Guy, let's kind of wrap up here. What else can we expect from Tetra in terms of news flow in the next 30 days now?
For sure. If you, how can I say, if you had a look at our deck, or people go back and look at the decks we've had, obviously there's the news on the reborn itself. When the actual, launch of the trial will actually start, there'll be some news. We'll have news on ARDS from the FDA, from Health Canada. These are all things that are in the public domain. And then obviously as a company, I've always liked to have some surprises for shareholders. So I like to keep them waiting that way.
Surprises are good. Surprises or good surprises.
Good surprises, yes, exactly.
Make stocks move. I think that our
Just
audience
like Roduvo, when we pulled the Roduvo out of the hat, we had been working on it for 2 years. People never heard us mention it, but it was actually a very long negotiation to get this proved to the big pharma partner that we were able to deliver, which meant, can you guys actually deliver with your team? Because you're a small company. So obviously they saw that we could. They saw our record, and here we are. So yes, that was a very positive surprise to the market, and that's the type I like.
Interesting. Is it too early to kind of, to give some sort of can you talk about projections? Let's call it in 2022, like revenues or even earnings from the Roduvo. Is it possible to even do that?
Yeah, our CFO and our chief commercial officer are working on that. At one point, we will have to obviously commit ourselves to shareholders and show them what our predictions are of the sales. Like any company that starts to, to do the revenues generating. So that's going to come for sure. At this point, I'm not going to be the one who's going to, defend that right now. But the CFO and the chief commercial officer are working all those details out, and obviously looking at the cheapest options too, because like I said, we have to get a sales force that's contractual. So all of that has to be get the best submissions and put all of that together along with the marketing pitch, and work very hard at getting the reimbursement for patients, which is key to the model, key to the penetration.
Okay, so excellent. So it seems like things are really on track. I mean, this is again, this is the type of thing that we like on this the next super stock platform is those companies which they're right at that inflection point. There's this catalyst, there's news flow, the stock, and especially stock that's undervalued compared to other companies in the space and other peers. So things are looking very good. Guy, thank you for joining us again, and we look forward to hearing more from Tetra in the coming weeks.
Don't worry. Like I said, my job is to surprise you with good news. So just hold on.